In life and in wrestling, nothing is guaranteed, and one of the biggest non-guarantees is that a wrestler will actually stay retired. However, that doesn't stop them having great retirement matches, and that is what we are here to discuss today. I'm Andrew from Raw is Ginger, and these are the top 5 WWE retirement matches. Number 5. Randy Savage versus The Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. In 1991, Vince McMahon decided Randy Savage was done as a professional wrestler. He was insistent that he have no further in-ring matches and that he should move permanently to be a colour commentator at the announce table. In hindsight, we know that this was a massive lapse in judgment, as Randy Savage went on to have great matches in WCW. But because of Vince's insistence on him retiring, Randy Savage competed in a retirement match at WrestleMania 7 with the Ultimate Warrior. The match itself was alright, but with it being an Ultimate Warrior match, it wasn't anything to write home about. But it was most remembered for what had happened near the end of the match. After the match, Savage's manager, the sensational Sherry, began to berate and hit Macho Man as the crowd looked on in horror. However, soon his real-life wife at the time and former manager Miss Elizabeth ran from the crowd, taking out Sherry before reuniting with Randy Savage. The pair embraced and ran off into the sunset as audience members were visibly left in tears. Number 4. Trish Stratus versus Lita at Unforgiven 2006. Trish Stratus and Lita almost single-handedly elevated the women's division during a time when it wasn't getting anywhere near the credit that it deserved. Mostly known for brand panties matches, gravy bowl matches, you get the idea. But by 2006, both of these elite stars were starting to wind down and looking towards the retirement exit. Trish was the first one to decide to hang up her boots and decided Unforgiven 2006 would be her final match, as it took place in Toronto, Canada, which was Trish Stratus' hometown. Lita was women's champion before the match, and Trish Stratus was looking to retire as women's champ to put an end to an illustrious career in wrestling. The match itself was absolutely fantastic, as two of these ultimate professionals gave it their all, with Trish making Lita submit to the infamous sharpshooter move. Of course, as of 2023, both women are actually back in the WWE competing at a part-time level, but at the time, this was a great match and showed what women's wrestling could be going forward. Number 3. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 24. Ric Flair is not one that likes to stay down very long. That's why the match itself is an absolute classic, but it's not higher up in the list because he's had more retirement matches than I've had hot dinners. His opponent at WrestleMania 24 was Shawn Michaels, who was intent on ending the career of Ric Flair and vowed to take out Old Yeller and put him out of his misery. Everyone knows how good Shawn Michaels was in the ring, and even at 58 years old at the time, Ric Flair could tell a story like few others could inside the squared circle. The match had everything. They hit their classic spots, called back through moments of each other's careers. It was pure storytelling, the highlight of which being Ric Flair finally climbing to the top rope and hitting a crossbody, which almost got a near fall on Michaels. The match is notably remembered for one of the most emotional moments in wrestling history. Michaels hit Flair with sweet chin music, but Flair decided to get back up. Michaels slumped into the corner, taking the weight of what he was about to do, and planted him with a super kick, but not before saying the words, "I'm sorry, I love you." Even me reading this has got me choked up yet again. Number 2. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. A lot of people will be wondering why this isn't at number 1, and it's for the sole reason of Saudi Arabia. If Michaels had just stayed retired and not came back for one more big payday, it probably would have been number 1, because the match itself was absolutely fantastic. Shawn Michaels was determined to stop The Undertaker's infamous WrestleMania streak. Undertaker was determined to keep his streak alive and retire Shawn Michaels. Initially, The Undertaker refused to take on Shawn Michaels' challenge because a year prior at WrestleMania 25, he had failed to end the streak. But after some goading, Undertaker accepted on one condition. Michaels had to put his career on the line in a career v streak match. They pulled off an absolutely incredible match here. The storytelling was fantastic. The near falls were perfectly executed. And it was a fight that you genuinely, at the time, did not know which way it was going to go. Mr. WrestleMania was, of course, on top form, and The Undertaker fought valiantly against his rival. But just like Ric Flair 2 years prior, Michaels was covered for the 3 count, and his long and storied career was over. Before we get to our number 1 spot, I'm going to give you an honourable mention. The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 19. It's an honourable mention because technically it wasn't counted as a retirement match at the time, but with hindsight, we now know that it essentially was Stone Cold Steve Austin's retirement match. It's well documented all the issues that Stone Cold Steve Austin had went through during 2001 to 2002, so I'm not going to get into it. But Stone Cold did come out for one last match on the condition that he faced The Rock, and that The Rock finally got his victory on the grandest stage of them all against Stone Cold. This was during a point where Rock was in his infamous Hollywood Rock phase and playing one of the best heel characters that he has ever played. Again, the storytelling was fantastic. You understood why Rock was so determined to beat Austin because he never had on the grandest stage of them all in his career, and we were all just surprised to see Austin back in a WWE ring. When The Rock hit that final rock bottom and finally got the 1-2-3 on Stone Cold, you genuinely did not know how to feel. At the time you thought, Stone Cold will be back, and he did come back. But it took him over 20 years to come out of retirement, face Kevin Owens at WrestleMania again, in what is widely regarded as a fantastic match. I would have loved to put it in the list proper, but because we never knew it was an actual retirement match, and he has had a match since then, is why it didn't go on the list. Number 1. The Undertaker versus AJ Styles in the classic Boneyard match at WrestleMania 36. Several times it looked like The Undertaker had missed the opportunity to retire on his terms. His match with Roman Reigns was a disaster. His match with Goldberg in Saudi Arabia was a disaster. We genuinely did not think there would be someone who could put on such a great match for an icon of the business. Step forward, AJ Styles. What puts this above all the others? There are a few reasons. 1. The way the match was executed. At the time, we were in the middle of the pandemic and it wasn't available for live audiences to come and watch wrestling matches. So they staged it as a cinematic experience. This really suited Undertaker because it could hide any glaring flaws in his ring game at the time, and you were able to craft an expertly executed story. AJ Styles was the perfect dance partner for the dead man, as he could easily carry off a story with the same gravitas that Undertaker had given Shawn Michaels in his retirement match. The cinematography on display for a wrestling PLE was fantastic. It really felt like you were watching a movie rather than a wrestling match. The ending was perfect as The Undertaker got his win against AJ Styles and rode off on his motorcycle into the night with Metallica blaring in the background. Sheer perfection. And the main reason that it's at number 1 is that at the time of this recording, Mark Calloway has not been coaxed back into another match, and that's the way it should stay. This was the perfect retirement match for an absolute icon of the business. And that's my top 5 best retirement matches. Let me know in the comments if you have any retirement matches that I may have missed that deserve to be on the list. Thank you for listening, and until next time, bye bye.